and welcome to the AppleInsider Podcast. I'm your host, Wes Hilliard, back and married. Yes, it all went well. We'll talk about it later. But first, I want to thank our sponsors this week, Masterclass in Nord, Stellar. I'm joined by William this week. Don't worry, Mike isn't here to grump things up. We always appreciate Mike coming on the show. I didn't hear anything too badly said about me, but William, did you have a secret standby episode on hand where you guys just talk bad about me the whole time?
It's the whole reason last week's AppleInsider Plus was a pre-record, because otherwise it was bleep, bleep, bleep over what Mike was saying. We've got to get you two on because you have such strong information and very different perspectives about all sorts of things. Got to do a podcast with you two, and I'll just watch in the corner. Yeah,
when Mike and I get on, it's always interesting because it's one of those situations where we agree on a lot of things, but our approaches are from completely different directions. So we have this false argument the whole time. It's fun.
I like the fact that, well, actually, it's a little bit with you and me, but there's also definitely me and Mike, and you would have heard some of this last week if you listened to it. He is absolutely so down-the-line hardware-orientated, and I am completely software-orientated. So if you ever ask us to solve a problem, his solution is a screwdriver, mine is a terminal command and things, and it works. Mm-hmm. Both of them fine. But I love how we get into our little silos and do it. And I particularly love the silos when they clash. But yeah, hang on, wait. Why are you going to make us wait until AppleInsider Plus to talk about the wedding? That's what we want to know about. Forget Apple's earnings. Wedding. That's what we want to know. Details.
Yes. So AppleInsider Plus this week, we're going to discuss a little bit of the wedding. Don't worry, it's not going to get too much in detail on that stuff. It's still tech related. We're going to be talking about planning events mostly around our technology and how we intersect those things. We bring our expertise to the table when we're maybe planning a party or something as big as a wedding, and how we utilize those things. And I just thought it'd be fun to discuss because I did do some tech-related things at the wedding. Don't worry, I did not wear the Apple Vision Pro to the wedding.
Right. Okay.
But we did get a lot of good recordings, a lot of good photos, and some other good stuff we will discuss in the after show. If you are an AppleInsider Plus subscriber, you get the show ad-free, and you get the AppleInsider Plus segment at the end. We did have a reader write in asking about making our Patreon activate a Plus segment on Spotify. I'm not sure about that. Well, you might have to look into it, but I'm sure that's somehow an option that exists. It might take a little work on our part, but we can look into that for
Absolutely.
Sure. But for now, let's dive in. Apple, as of recording yesterday, had its earnings call. It earned a bunch of money. Great. I don't think we need to really talk about it.
Well, sometimes it's a bunch and a half of money occasionally, isn't it? So, that's...
Well, whether they do good or not, it's always just this, it's more money than some countries make in a year.
That's true.
And they make it in one quarter. And then, and then the analysts come in and say, well, we're just really upset about this, or we're really hopeful about this. And it's like, they just earned more money than any other company in the United States. Like, it's so funny when you have to paint such news poorly, because it's like, well, we predicted they were going to do this and they didn't. They were 1 penny short down on Apple.
Okay.
We're selling. Speaking of selling, I did want to note that Microsoft and NVIDIA took not NVIDIA, that's a different thing we're going to talk about later. Microsoft and Meta took a pretty big hit after their earnings. I know they usually take hits. This is normal in the stock market game. You buy before earnings, you sell after earnings, and the stock market fluctuates in turn. But just a 10% drop, I feel like, is notable, and it's on AI news. We'll talk a little bit more about market caps and stuff later in the episode, but I keep warning about that bubble popping, and that AI bubble is only expanding more and more, and these kinds of reactions to bad AI news is a sign that the things are coming. So prepare yourself. It's not going to be pretty when it happens.
I actually read a report today saying that there's some survey, I can't remember who did it or how good the metrics were for it, but the headline version was that companies that have been firing people in order to replace them with AI are regretting it very, very badly because AI has been doing something like 3% of the work effectively that human beings used to do. So naturally I thought, great, everybody will get their jobs back, but it got bleak ending. They said, yes, people get their jobs back. They'll be hired back for a lot less than they ever were before. So, great. Yeah.
Well, see, this is the whole thing. Stockholders want profits, and we saw this with UPS. We saw this with there was another company with massive Amazon, where they're just laying off 40,000 employees after record-breaking, numbers, paying their CEOs $40 million for the year, and yet they're laying off 30,000 employees only to satisfy stockholders by slightly moving their profit margin by like 0.1%. So it's a weird world out there. And yeah, I mean, even if you got fired because of quote unquote AI taking your job, that's mostly been disguised as we just want to fire you because it's more profitable. It really, I don't think it has much to do with AI, because as we've discussed, it's just not doing the human jobs. But again, we'll probably discuss more of that as the show goes on. There's a lot to talk about today. And I wanted to start off with a new app update. And William, you've got all the details here. I want to hear about it. What's going on with Affinity?
As we record this, I know every single detail about Affinity's long-awaited plans. Every little bit of it, except I've not yet been able to get the actual app, because in fact the moment we're recording now, it's about to release for it. So the second we've stopped talking, I will dive in and play. So I could be wrong about things, but it looks like, from screenshots and talking with the company and all this, the very shortest version of this to say is it's fine-ish. We used to have Affinity Designer, Affinity Photo, and Affinity Publisher, my personal favourite. And from now on, at least on the Mac and Windows, we will have an app called Affinity. The other three are just gone for it. But I don't know, if you don't use the apps, you won't know this, but they always had a really, really clever way of swapping. There would be, if you had the three apps, then up in the top corner of all of them, there would be icons for those three. And you're in a document, say a publisher document, and you think, well, that photo isn't quite right. In any other system, you'd have to go back to the original photo or maybe export it, take it to an editor and do something. But with Affinity apps, you would push the button for Affinity Photo and you stay in your document. Everything you're working on is the same, but the whole app changes around you. It's wrapped around with Affinity Photo, so you make your changes and then you click the button and you're back in Publisher or Designer, whatever it is. Really clever stuff. And it looks like what they've done is just extended that a little bit. So instead of icons for the three apps, there's a big chunky button there's one called Vector, one called Pixel, one called Layout. So that's got to be Designer, Photo, and Publisher. But they're saying the fact that it's in one app means you can arrange any tools in any way you like. And I think it's going to be good in the end. I mean, I'm right in the middle of a project now in Affinity Publisher, and there's no way I'm going to update for my work until that is done. And
do you have to sign in with Canva?
Good point. Yes, ish. You have to have an account. You always did with Affinity. It was a free way of registering your apps and your licenses and your upgrades to it. If you've already done that and you already have an Affinity account, you just carry on. If you haven't, you do have to get a new Canva account. And of course, the first thing you think of is that Canva charges tiers, and well, it can, but there is a free version of Canva, and that is enough for you to get access to almost all of this. In fact, to be blunt, everything that I would care about, you get through the free Canva account. If you get the paid ones, then there are various Canva AI things that will work across the apps as well. And if that's you, fine. But
there's certainly a concern, right? Because Canva they don't have a very good reputation as far as acquiring things and being a good faith owners of those. And this seems fine on so far, but do we have any idea what the plans are going forward, or how it's going to change? Is there going to be a baseline model, and then in order to get new updates you have to subscribe, or what's going on here? Do we have any information?
Well, what they claim is that it's free now and it will be free forever. Which obviously can change, but it would be difficult for them to walk that back now. They're saying that so stridently.
Right.
There is a show I should touch.
It's curious.
I should say just briefly, I mentioned it's Mac and Windows. There will be an iPad version coming next year, and Canva tells me that until that version is out, the old ones the 3 will still be available on the iPad and still be free.
Right.
So that's good. I have a problem with Canva in that I really, really dislike the app. I find I've had to teach people how to use it when they couldn't afford anything else, and it is absolutely great if you want to work precisely the way it lets you. But the moment you want to try just a tiny tweak, it gets really awkward. And last week when I was editing something, somebody sent me a Canva poster, and my job was supposed to do another 8 in a similar style, and I couldn't get it out of Canva. It would display in the browser, but it wouldn't display even at the right size so that I could screen grab it in the end. It was fighting me all the way. So Canva, I'm not a fan. Affinity, I absolutely adore. So yes, this was a scary month waiting for this news, and I'm still, as we speak, a little bit nervous. Yeah. But it's looking right.
If you're an Affinity fan, so this is one of those things. Obviously, they're trying to compete with Adobe more directly. Indirectly, because they're not charging. So I'm not really sure what this looks like as a business model for Canva or how this helps them. Like, why spend the money and acquire it and then make it free for everyone? Like, is there going to be an ad in the corner or something?
No.
I know that's not the case, but what's the goal here? And I don't think we've seen the full picture yet. That other shoe will eventually drop, but I think at least for Affinity fans, they'll still have the tools that they enjoy. I like Affinity because it was the one editor on iPad that actually had most of the tools that I needed and had it laid out in a good space and everything like that. For the most part, I could get by with Photomator, which is the Pixelmator company's photo editor with repair tools and such. Not really much in the way of layering or anything like that. You need Pixelmator Pro, but that was always Mac only for whatever reason. But now that might change. There is underlying like App Store registrars that are showing Apple has registered Pixelmator Pro as an iPad app. Doesn't mean anything yet, but it could mean that it's coming to iPad eventually, which would be excellent because it's my favorite editor for sure, but I don't really use a Mac that much. So only when I'm maybe in the Vision Pro and I jump over to the Mac and I can use the editor there. I did this the other day to edit some photos I took of the Apple Vision Pro, and it was great. It just reminded me of how much I enjoyed that app. And if there's one thing I could point out that it does that Affinity does not, and it's so weird that modern apps just either don't do this, maybe it's too hard or they forget. Stretch and skew.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know why you can't do this in Affinity.
I didn't know you couldn't.
So often,
okay.
Yeah, so often I'll have an image of a computer screen or something, and I'm like, I want to affix a screenshot to that so I don't have any glare.
Right.
You can't do it.
Wow.
There's no stretch and skew. Yeah, like you have to skew the image to make it fit. Unless you somehow magically straight on take a photo of that perfectly,
right,
so that the flat screenshot fits on the flat display. You need stretch and skew. Otherwise, it's going to be angled and weird, and everyone's going to notice that. And very odd. And Affinity, maybe it does it, and I don't know, and it's a hidden menu. But if that's the case, that's still bad on Affinity, right? Pixelmator puts it front and center.
I love Pixelmator, and I am excited by this app coming. I'm obviously a great fan of Affinity, but I'll tell you, it's Affinity Publisher that I live in sometimes for every evening for a month I'll be in Publisher on a particular thing. It's just great. And I find Affinity Photo is actually beyond me. I just do not understand how to use it, whereas Pixelmator does everything I want. But we should say, actually, it's exciting about Pixelmator, but this will affect me more than you. There's also, in that same story about apps possibly coming to the iPad, Main Stage for Logic Pro, Compressor, and Motion for Final Cut. Motion in particular would be massive on the iPad. I mean, if you don't happen to know, it's a way of generating titles, it's a way of generating images for it, distorting stuff, creating amazing sequences, and it can then just drop into Final Cut Pro. And it's another one that I find very hard to use, but I've used it and been incredibly pleased with the results for it. So to have it all on the iPad.
It's like having Keynote slideshow effects for video. Okay.
I want to say that's metaphorically correct, but is vastly underselling what motion can do.
Right.
But, yes.
I don't. Maybe you're underselling what Keynote can do.
True.
Have you seen what people do with Keynote? It's crazy. But yeah, Keynote's pretty powerful if you really dig into it. But no, motion's interesting. I feel like that would be fun, especially if you want to dig in and add things. Like iMovie is such an archaic device at this point. You can't really do modern things with it, and you're not really going to edit vertical video there either. And I feel like having more of these tools on iPad is great for us iPad users. I'm excited to see them ported. But Pixelmator Pro is definitely the one that I'm excited for the most, because I'm sure Canva is going to be a fine steward of Affinity, but I'll happily move on from it. And Pixelmator now is an Apple app, and as we've discussed before, if the Apple app works, I will just use that instead of a third party. So
I should point out, by the way, because I'm clearly more of an iMovie fan than you. I mean, I'm a Final Cut Pro user more than anything. But we have an article recently on AppleInsider, a really detailed dive into, I think this one for iMovie with the iPad, but I wrote one about one for the Mac, and how in a great many ways it's really powerful. There's some immense immediate limitations, but what it does.
Yeah, it's free. It's just, it feels like it's untouched in a way. Like it just like it's the same app we've had for 20 years, and I'm not sure if that's a good thing in the modern world of how video has changed since, and Apple didn't evolve with it, at least not with iMovie.
I was very surprised to say that what you just said about social media and vertical videos. I was really surprised when I looked at it, because I'd never done it through iMovie. Looked to see what was I missing, and it's not there. You can't export square or vertical videos, and that makes sense when you put it that way. Ignored.
And Clips, Clips was a nice, like, Apple trying to acknowledge it. Clips was mostly an experiment, just to say this is what a good app that looks like this looks like on iOS. Like, they were just making a good native app as an experiment. It was never going to go anywhere. I had hoped it might. But yeah, it died off, but with its death, there's nothing native to Apple that can really handle that kind of stuff easily. And nobody should be paying a subscription to Logic Pro to edit TikTok videos. So obviously CapCut is out there, from TikTok, but it's just one of those things. I feel like Apple, being the platform that it is, could entice more users by offering a particularly robust app in that way, especially if it's like, well, I want the iPhone that has a built-in free editor that's private for my vertical video things, TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram, and Apple does not offer that. So I don't know. It's an opportunity that they are missing out on.
One thing that might be relevant, because you just mentioned it about subscribing, I actually have re-upped my subscription to Final Cut on the iPad, because since you went away, I bought a new iPad, and it has an OLED screen, and it's fantastic. I'm so pleased with it. But there we go.
So you enjoying this?
Yes, but it's I mean, editing video on it is so quick, and not just for the speed of the processor, but also well, it's complicated. But there's a certain workflow I used to use that meant filming here, editing there, and instead of just do it all in one place, much smoother with two iPads, and away off they go. But also the screen. You kept telling me how good the screen is, but last week I was watching penultimate episode of Slow Horses on my TV set, Apple TV series, great show. And afterwards, just out of curiosity, I picked up my nice new shiny iPad, because I couldn't really put it down, picked it up again, and started watching the same episode. And the difference is so cinematic on that screen. It's utterly good. I have wasted a lot of time rewatching favourite films because they look so good on it.
So we'll get to displays in a minute, but this is a good place to discuss. So have you noticed the volume buttons? Are you okay with how they operate?
I know where you're going with this, and because we've had a question about it. Until the question came in, I didn't realise that there was ever an issue with this, but it is true that I keep pressing the volume up instead of volume down button on the side of the iPad, and I just assumed that was me.
So we had a listener write in, Tom. Is it Tom? Yes. We had a listener write in asking about, because they also were enticed to upgrade by our discussions, and they got the new iPad and discovered that dynamic volume buttons is not only on by default, but on. There's no toggle. Modern iPads remove the toggle from settings. Older iPads still have it, obviously, post iOS 15 something, but yep, it's just there forever now. I think it's just Apple's preferred solution, and they're just like, get used to it. Basically, what dynamic volume buttons are is no matter what orientation your iPad is in, the button to the right or facing down is always the down button. Wait, see, I just messed it up.
Yeah.
It's whatever direction the volume bar is in. So right now I'm facing my iPad in portrait with the volume buttons on top.
Right.
If I press the rightmost button, the volume goes up. If I press the leftmost button, the volume goes down. If it's vertical, the bottom button always turns down the volume. The top button always turns up the volume. And that's just how it goes. So it's orientation agnostic. The problem with that is muscle memory up till now will have you always find the quote-unquote down volume button and use it regardless of orientation. And if you're used to that, this will drive you bananas.
Right.
But there's no way to fix it.
But you saying it like this has helped me. I mean, I really didn't realize there'd been a change at all. I just, like I say, I thought it was just me. And now I can visualize it as I'm doing it, and I'm confident I'll just get it right. But that's nice for me, isn't it, really?
Yeah, right and up, left and down.
Right, now that sounds like something from a film about JFK. Left and back. Left. Anyway, sorry, that's off there. Okay. So glad we sorted that out then, really.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's funny we hadn't discussed it before. It never bothered me. If anything, I was a fan of the change. Because I especially like the iPad mini, it doesn't feel like a device that has an orientation. The camera is there, but it may as well not exist. So I just pick the thing up and use it. And I honestly, the iPad mini, because of its top facing buttons, I never know where the volume buttons are anyway. So I always have to think through where they are, then hit them. So it's just, I don't know. It's not really something that gets in my way so much. And honestly, most of the time, I'm not even using the buttons. I go to Control Center and swipe the volume.
Yes. Yeah. So
yeah. How far away are we from losing the buttons, William?
This episode is brought to you by Masterclass. Masterclass is the online training service experience, really, that gets you world-class experts, famously at the top of their industries, teaching you across categories ranging from arts to cooking to business, science, technology, and more. Masterclass is really practical. You get hours of classes with these instructors, but it's also amazingly confidence building and in ways I didn't really expect. I mean, I'm a writer, so of course, I knew immediately I'm going to learn from Aaron Sorkin and Shonda Rhimes and Walter Mosley, but I didn't expect to learn as much as I did from Jodie Foster, who talks about directing, and Amy Poehler. She has a masterclass that, well, I suppose is really about improv and comedy, and she's certainly very funny in it, and you do learn that, but it's also very much more broadly practical. She goes through what comedians have to know in order to be good at improv, but in doing so is directly showing us how this helps us all in regular, everyday life too. You and I would never be able to hire Amy Poehler. It's not just the unimaginable cost. She's doing the work. She's talking about all of the masterclass people are practicing professionals at the top of their game. Yet you get all of them through Masterclass with plans starting at $10 a month, billed annually. One fee gets you everything, unlimited access to the whole streaming platform. And I found it confidence building. Reportedly, 3 out of 4 Masterclass members say they feel inspired every single time they watch. Plus, every new membership comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee, and right now, our listeners get an additional 15% off any annual membership at masterclass.com/AppleInsider15. That's 15% off at masterclass.com/AppleInsider15. The digit 1, the digit 5. And thanks to Masterclass, both for those classes actually that I've been learning from, but also for supporting the Apple Insider podcast.
Not to get ahead of ourselves on rumors, we have... Let's back up to displays, OLED. So the iPad Pro is the first Apple device to get OLED other than the iPhone. But obviously, Apple is going to bring OLED to other devices. It's a natural progression from LCD. It's better in nearly every metric except for one. It has better color reproduction, infinite blacks, and maybe two things. It's not going to be able to get as bright as LCD, but Apple's actually been working on that for a while. They're much brighter than they used to be. And they do have a tendency for burn-in, but also Apple has been working on that. I've never noticed burn-in on this iPad, so not really a concern that I have.
I thought you were going to say the price.
But those are the weaknesses of OLED.
Right. I got to say, first time ever in an Apple device, I've had to turn down the brightness on my new iPad. I'm used to having it really bright, and I thought old man's eyes kind of thing, but with this it was actually painfully bright. So I was surprised you say that. There, maybe it's just this is another one.
Yeah,
years since I had one before, but yeah.
It's funny you say that. So my wife Natalie has the iPhone Air, and she's never had a bright...
Sorry, can we just stop there? First reference to my wife in it. Just make a note of this. Is important.
Just look that
this is excellent. But I'm sorry, she's never noticed or never did you say?
So she has an iPhone Air, and she's never had this much range in a display brightness before.
Oh.
And her instinct has been previously to go to Control Center and just swipe all the way down on brightness. Well, so like you say, like the ranges of these displays now are so great that the maximum brightness and the lowest brightness are unusable in certain situations. Right. And she encountered that very quickly, noticing like, wow, this is actually so dim. I need to turn it up from the bottom a little bit, because she would be in a dim room, open the phone, it'd be too bright, just swipe all the way down. Nope, now it's too dim, right? So same thing with the brightness. It's too bright in certain situations. So that is kind of funny to me that that's where we are with these. I remember Samsung having a particular issue with this because they didn't really... They've been OLED for a very long time. Samsung's been using AMOLED displays since like 2015. But what they've been doing, I don't know if they had an additional like backlight or something, but man, they cranked up that brightness to the point that if you were in a movie theater, you could see every Samsung phone in there because it would be lighting up like a star, like just exploding in your eyes from a distance. And I've had people open them up next to me in a dim room, and I'm just suddenly can't see anything.
Wow.
Like it might as well be a flashbang. But thankfully, something about how Apple handles theirs. I mean, Samsung also has a very blue color temperature to their displays, so that might not help either. Anyway, OLED is interesting because it also is. It doesn't need a backlight. Is emitting its own light from the LED itself. It's very nice, and it's coming to 3 devices. Now, we already knew about MacBook Pro, so it's not mentioned so much in this article. MacBook Pro is going to get it. Not this cycle, but next cycle, it seems, the 27. The original rumor was late 26, but now that we know the M5 Pro, M5 Max isn't coming till the spring, unless Apple pulls another fast cycle, which doubtful, it'll be the one after that. So the M6 MacBook Pro will get OLED. But then after that, we've got 3 other devices. So the iPad mini, MacBook Air, and iPad Air are next in the docket for OLED. And once that's done, it's pretty much the iMac and the standard iPad that are left in the lineup that do not have OLED. So iPad mini's first. We're expecting that in the spring, possibly, which is exciting to me because I didn't realize it was time to update. But I love my iPad mini, and I will absolutely be buying whatever comes next because each iteration of that is always a vast improvement over the last. OLED in this is going to be really nice. It's currently LCD, so I read books using my iPad mini, usually in bed, and I think OLED's going to be a game changer for that. But there was something else in this report before we move on to the other 2 devices. That Apple is going to have more water resistance in the iPad mini, similar to the water resistance in iPhone, but they're going to go even further by removing the speaker holes.
Okay. So AirPods only?
No, Apple's going to... So this is very amusing to me, and I'm sure you'll hear it when I say it. The speakers will use vibration-related technology.
Okay.
Now, here's the thing, William. all speakers are vibration-related
Oh,
technology.
I went a different route there. I was
So-
thinking every woman listening is going, aye, but okay. Yes, that's true. They do. My car door shakes sometimes when I've got it too loud. So
I think the way this is, what it's meaning maybe is it's going to use the frame to conduct audio, which begs the question of like, why didn't we just call it frame conduction or something? It needs a better name. Vibration related doesn't make sense because all audio is vibration. It's just silly. But yes, Apple's going to supposedly change how the speakers holes work. I'm sure there'll still be drilled bits in the bottom, but they won't go into the case. They'll have some sort of thinner conduction area to allow sound to pass through using like a vibrational chamber, but no water will be able to ingress there because it won't actually be an opening. The only ingress points would be the buttons and the port, which the buttons are well gasketed as long as you don't drop your device constantly, and the port is also theoretically completely sealed. You can't get it wet and then plug it in, of course. But the reason why Apple would do this, I think, and maybe they won't even say it on stage, but Kindles and the things it competes with are completely waterproof. You can read them in a swimming pool.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah, some of them are. Maybe not all of them, but I know several are shown, like, they advertise them as, this is your bathtub book, right? You can read this and not worry about any water. I'm sure you can't go deep diving with it or anything, but it's splash resistant to a pretty good degree. iPad mini, I'm not comfortable taking into the shower the same way I am taking an iPhone into the shower. Now, I'm not using the phone in the shower. I usually, maybe I'll play a podcast or something with the phone on a shelf. Yeah. But I'm not worried about that phone getting wet or sprayed so much because it has a pretty good water resistance. As long as you're not spraying the water directly into the ports, you're fine. This is not an endorsement for you to break your phones in the shower. No. So
this is making me think.
I just found that interesting.
If all that's left are the buttons and the charging port, well, we have wireless charging, and there's forever been stories that buttons are going to become. What's the phrase? Not actual physical buttons. Capacitive. Thank you. In fact, isn't there a story that's one of the many stories about the iPhone 20 that would be like that? Is Apple working its way towards a totally sealed device?
I hope so, because it would be great for us. But I mean, the Apple Watch has buttons and a digital crown, and it's fine. True. You can go deep sea diving with this thing. Yeah. So I would really like Apple. This has been on my list forever. It's every review I write is IP57 or whatever is so 2015 because it hasn't changed, and Apple refuses to update it because they would encourage people to damage their phones. The problem is Apple Watch is security wrist. You're less likely to drop it and damage the gaskets, and those are pretty well made. I think they're using a very specific kind of button versus the iPhone. So iPhone, though, you drop that thing a couple of times, the gaskets shake loose, water's going to ingress pretty easily. And that's how a lot of people damage their phones. They drop their phone and they get in the shower, and there you go. Apple really wants to avoid saying you can use your phone submersed because that would lead to a lawsuit when they refuse to repair a device with water damage.
Right, yes.
But Samsung and others have long advertised, showing in commercials, people jumping into a swimming pool and filming people underwater with their device's cameras. Now, I wouldn't take my Samsung phone into the ocean regardless because salt is devastating. I mean, Apple Watch, again, is the exception to this rule, but smartphone, that scares me. Unless Apple specifically said this is ocean safe, I would never do it. Swimming pool, though, pretty safe. Chlorine, it's fine. It's just water. I mean, I frequently will notice my phone getting gunky, and I have that magnetic leather back as my case. I don't have an actual case, so I just pop it off and just run it under the faucet to clean it.
Right. Like, I've never done that.
That's fine. That's fine. Again, don't blast the water directly into the ports or speaker holes. I'm not a monster, but if I need to get some gunk off my phone, you just kind of run it under it real quick, just let the water slide off of it, and there you go. You got a brand new phone.
Well, I think you are a monster, but a clean monster. I will listen to podcasts in the bathroom. I won't take it anywhere near the shower. I did once drop an iPhone down the loo, and it was mercifully fine afterwards. But the idea of intentionally subjecting it to water in any way, that just...
Well, there's something... It's definitely generational. Like, there's definitely this... And I'm part of that generation. This isn't anything against
I was just
William.
thinking, I welcome you back after the wedding, and now you're saying you're old. Thanks. Okay.
No, but there's definitely this generational thing of don't get electronics wet. Dear God, keep it away from water. It will explode. And that is fair, right? Just like, dear God, keep magnets away from your devices. When I was a child, I found it amusing that you could take one of those donut ring magnets off of the fridge and then hold it up to a TV and change the color spectrum.
Right. No.
And then you flip it over and change it back.
Why would you have a donut ring magnet on your fridge? Is that some American thing? How they're made?
Well, the little circular metal heavy-duty ring magnets, you could hold up a heck of a child's
okay, well, I guess I've
there,
never done that.
Sometimes you need to pull out the heavy-duty stuff. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, maybe you can stick an entire kid to the fridge. Maybe if they're misbehaving, you just hang them up there.
Anyway, I did notice I bought an Apple Pencil Pro along with the new iPad, and I have noticed that the magnets are much stronger than they were on my M1. So, just throw that in there. Try to keep this relevant for it. But I prefer your idea of hanging children.
Well, isn't it incredible?
As you open the door.
From their, shirt. But, so my goodness, William. So technology, it's amazing. So I really do enjoy seeing where these are going. iPad mini, obviously, if it's a thinner, lighter design, man, that is going to be an incredible device. And I can hear everyone saying now, but why even bother? They're going to do a foldable, are they? Next up is the iPad Air. So 26, we're going to get the iPad mini with a updated processor, probably A19 Pro, because Apple always does the current processor. The iPad Air will get updated, but it will not get OLED this time around, but it will get M4. We're going to get an M4 iPad Air in the spring, and then sometime in 27, we will get the iPad Air with M5 and OLED. So
you're saying I should have waited 2 more years before buying an iPad? Okay.
Well, you got an iPad Air, correct?
No, iPad. But I really looked at iPad Air.
Oh, well, then you're fine. Yeah.
But now it sounds like one reason I went for M5 iPad Pro was the screen, and also I did some basic video editing in the Apple Store, and even there I could see the difference between the two, and that's what pushed me to it. But now if Air is going to get OLED as well and M4, well, I'll make sure I get a lot of use out of the M5 in the next 2 years.
Do note that the Air isn't going to get the thin and light iPad Pro design, right? It's still even though it's called the Air, it is still the chunkier device. And unless Apple can differentiate the iPad Pro, they're not going to change that. And the cycle is so fast for iPad Air, we're going to get 2 more iPad Airs before we get another iPad Pro. So Apple is not going to introduce that thin and light design between now and the OLED iPad Air. The next one after that OLED iPad Air might get the thin and light design, but that's only because we will get the next iPad Pro, possibly M7. People would say end of 27. I'm banking more on early 28 for that model. We'll see how rumors go. And then in the same time frame, we will finally get the MacBook Air with OLED in 2028. So
that's all good.
Yeah. Everything will have OLED. There's no word on the base iPad or iMac getting OLED right now, but I'm sure that is coming.
I wish there weren't word on the iPad mini, because I can't afford another iPad. I can't. I've just bought this one. Come on, William.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
It's hard to go back to back to back.
Okay.
I mean, I really love my iPad mini. I use it every day, and it's just one of those quality of life improvements. I mean, I know it won't change anything about how I use it because I'm not using it for anything intensive, but it's just going to be nice. It's going to be a nice device. But speaking of rumors, we can move forward here a little bit. We already discussed the Project Bongo coming back, the capacitive buttons for the iPhone 20. iPhone 20 being the 2027 20th anniversary.
Sorry, is it really called Project Bongo? As in the drums?
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I'm not judging. I just didn't know that one. Okay. Right.
So, yes, capacitive buttons are a possibility. We keep hearing this. Honestly, I'm interested in what an iPhone would be like without buttons. I know that's controversial, but I don't know. I think it'd be interesting. I really just want a phone I can dunk underwater.
Yes, clearly.
Bring it on.
Okay, I'm learning that's a thing. But previously on the AppleInsider Podcast, we've talked just occasionally about a potential future where our only device is the iPhone, and you might plug it into a monitor on your desk, you might plug it into a folding screen somewhere else or whatever. I keep forgetting the term you had for us, like a single computing device.
Yeah, naked robotic core.
Thank you. Why I can't hold that in my head, I don't know. But I really like that concept, except surely plugging into monitors and things would need ports. No wireless connection yet could be fast enough to do that. So,
but you can waterproof the heck out of a port.
So we want no ports, but we want ports.
Well, you're not going to dunk your phone underwater and then
no,
plug it into
I am
an
not.
iMac.
But you, okay, right?
No. So I believe today even, and I may be wrong, but the USB-C port is pretty much waterproofed. It's a solid state enclosure. It is just a aluminum slab with a now. There is still gasketing going on here because the chip has to pass through the metal enclosure. I haven't seen the teardown, but I'm pretty sure that is a fairly secure port as far as water goes. You're not going to get water into the device. Now, water will get into the port, and you should not use it. You will damage your device because basically you'll create some sort of short and cause electricity to just dump into your battery. It's not whatever would happen. It would be catastrophic and bad. Apple is actually very smart about this. If they sense an abnormality that would be caused by water or foreign material, you'll get a warning on your display, and the port will just shut itself off. So that's very nice. So you wouldn't be able to dunk your phone underwater and then plug it into a monitor either way. But yes, I think Apple can very easily seal off that port without much issue. Going completely portless, though, as weird as that sounds, isn't that big a deal as we get better with conductive technologies. We could just have what would be basically a smart connector, and that be enough for data pass through. And once we get to Thunderbolt speeds on a smart connector, we're good, but we're not there yet. And I don't know if we can. I'm not a technologist in that way. I'm not designing these things, but I mean, one could assume that you can. I mean, you can get data across the smart connector today, so why not think it could increase over time?
This episode is brought to you by NordStellar. NordStellar is from the makers of NordVPN, and it's made to help entire businesses of any size. It's a whole threat exposure management platform, which means it detects cyber threats against your company and it helps you take control before they escalate. NordStellar monitors the dark web, searching for targeted attacks against your firm, your brand, or your executives. For C-level executives, it provides faster detection and prioritization. It offers real-time visibility of risks, and it also strengthens a firm's compliance posture. For the security teams, NordStellar can provide contextualized insights, it can track adversaries, and it can provide malware logs. And for your whole company, including your customers, using NordStellar means safeguarding against phishing, identity abuse, or account takeovers. NordStellar is about proactive protection. Don't wait until your company's data is already for sale on the dark web. Protect your business today with NordStellar. NordStellar has flexible plans that scale with your business size, and right now you can unlock a 10% discount on NordStellar with the coupon code AppleInsider-10. Go to nordstellar.com/AppleInsiders. That's nordstellar.com/AppleInsider and use that coupon code AppleInsider-10. So that's a dash and then 10. And thanks to NordStellar for supporting the Apple Insider Podcast. There's been no word of any of this, but there's always word of what is coming next with the iPhone 20, the iPhone 18 Pro. I'm going to go all out and say there'll be nothing special in the iPhone 19 Pro. Nothing at all. Okay, you heard it here first. This is what I'm saying.
Well, there won't be an iPhone 19. This is where it gets weird. Yeah. Because we're talking about 2027 as the 20th anniversary.
Yeah, unbelievable. But yeah.
And the iPhone 17 comes out in 2026.
No, hang on. 17 is
the
this
iPhone
one, isn't it?
Blank.
I honestly get so confused. We've got 17.
Oh, we have 17. See,
right,
that messed me up.
Yeah.
So iPhone 18 is in 2026. There will not be an iPhone 19. There will be an iPhone XX.
I really, really doubt that. Because Apple would then be obliged to iPhone XXX for the 30. So
I think
we'll pull it back.
We'll be there.
Yeah.
By then, I think we can do it. Tim Cook will be gone. We'll have a new Apple. No. So moving on. iPhone 18 is rumored to get variable aperture. We've heard this before for iPhone 17, iPhone 16. You can go back a while. It's a good idea. It would actually make the camera control button very interesting because you would need a way to control that aperture, just same way you need to control zoom.
This isn't a stupid question. What do I get for having variable aperture? Because as we've said before, you're the photography guy and I really am not. Why would I want one?
Well, we're faking it right now. Go to portrait mode and you can control the quote-unquote aperture of your photo. You're just controlling how much the detected background is getting blurred with bokeh, artificial bokeh. Variable aperture on an iPhone would be a literal control of the aperture. But right now you have a fixed aperture. That's all smartphones since the beginning of time. It's just you're getting that wide open 1.8 whatever it's doing. Great. But you being able to control that physically would be interesting. It would allow for much more professional shooting. So, for example, if I need it's a triangle. This is something that I've told people, if you guys ever want to get into photography, all you really need to learn is this triangle and framing, and you're 80% of the way there. After that, it's just skill. But basically, there's this triangle with speed, shutter speed, aperture, and exposure. So exposure is like how much your sensor is absorbing light. Your shutter speed is how much time the shutter is open so light can get in. And your aperture is how open the little guy is in order to determine how much light is getting in. Think of it as a sluice gate or a floodgate. How open the gate is how much light can get in. So the tighter that gate, the less light gets in. The faster the shutter speed, the less light gets in, the higher the exposure you need. So you're basically controlling how much light you can get to your photo using these three legs of this triangle. Exposure, you're not really controlling too much. You can kind of change something called ISO if you want to. There's also artificial exposures you can control through software, but you're not really touching that one so much. So generally what the photographer does control is the shutter speed and the aperture. A lower shutter speed will allow you to absorb more light over time, but that means you're going to need something like a tripod, or you're going to have to brace the camera in your hands to make sure it doesn't shake during lower shutter speeds. iPhone in bright daylight has a incredible shutter speed. I don't know if you've ever looked at these metrics, but they get wild sometimes. Let's see. I actually don't know if it. Oh, here it is. 1 over 2,232 fraction of a second is the shutter speed of a photo I took in bright sunlight. That is stupid, right? That is the ISO here is 80. I'm looking at a photo I took of a museum aircraft carrier in Charleston. So if you look at the metadata, it's incredible shutter speed. The f-stop was at 1.78, so just below the 1.8. So yeah, it was just a very bright sunshiny day, so it could do whatever it wanted. Basically, it could go as fast as it wanted. That's how you can take a photo and see the movement of a hummingbird's wings. But here's the thing: sometimes you want blur, so you will slow down your shutter speed, so that way instead of seeing the hummingbird's wings completely frozen in space, now you get that kind of cool National Geographic flutter, right? That blur by lowering your shutter speed. But when you do that, you're now allowing a lot more light to hit the sensor, which could overexpose your photo. So then you need to control your aperture to make sure that less light can get in while you're slowing down that shutter speed to balance out your exposure. I know it's a whole tangent there, but
no, that makes
it's a pro tool for a reason. Like, it really gives you full control. But the important thing here is, for non-pro users, is if the iPhone can control its own aperture automatically, you're going to get a lot more interesting photos and a lot better bokeh in a lot more situations. Because right now, the only thing your iPhone can really control is that shutter speed. So, yeah, it'll be a very nice tool for better photos. We're faking a lot of bokeh now with that portrait mode, that artificial f-stop that we're adding in after the fact. We won't need that as much with a variable aperture.
Cool. Well, I'm glad I asked. Okay, thank you. So that's expected iPhone 18 Pro. I mean, I suppose as ever we don't know, but that's looking likely.
Yeah. I see. Just as a disclaimer, I love photography and I study it, but at the same time, some of these terms are inverses of themselves. So if I'm saying opening and meant closed, forgive me. I'm sure there's people out there who know better than me. You know what I'm saying, but because it does get confusing like that sometimes. Sometimes it's like opening the aperture is the opposite. Anyway, yes. It's just a lot of fun stuff. Finally, iPad Pro is rumored to get vapor chamber cooling, and see, this is early 2027. No, when did the iPad Pro come? Just now? Yeah, we just now got. No, what is this? Okay, now I can't math anymore because we're close to 26. Yes, early 27. I'm thinking more like mid 27. Would be the next iPad Pro update with M6 or M7. Sure, why not? Vapor chamber cooling, that makes sense. It would help. Because there is no cooling in the iPad Pro, so the M series chip has to throttle in some situations. I think this would help with performance. It's very smart. It should come to every device, honestly.
Okay, I'm just thinking, does that affect the size of the iPad Pro?
You might sacrifice some battery, but again, efficiencies from chips make up for that. So we've got a few more things to get to. I know we're running into the end here. This is a longer discussion. Well, I'm sure we'll have if it does get implemented, but I wanted to see your reaction to this. Ads in Apple Maps.
Yeah.
Good, bad, awful, terrible, no good?
Automatic thing is bad. And there's always been this perception, although apparently it's not true, that Google Maps will alter your route to nudge you nearer an advertiser. I mean, urban myth... Very persuasive urban myth, and you know if an ad appears in Apple and there's any possibility that it even looks like it might have coincidentally done it, Apple's going to get slammed for that. That's just kind of guaranteed. So I think apparently they've taken, if it's true, they've taken years to think about it, so maybe they've decided they can do it better or they don't care. But
Apple does have an ad executive now. It's interesting that they're putting ads in places, but here's the thing. All right, so I've discussed this before. It's a longer conversation, but ads are not inherently bad, right? Advertising was how you discovered anything prior to the internet, for the most part. I mean, obviously you knew, hopefully, that you needed toothpaste. Yeah. Maybe famously, Lay's never advertised its potato chip. You just knew it was the best one. But like, there's a lot of interesting things about advertising prior to the internet. Basically the entire media market would not have existed without advertising. Television would not have radio would not have existed without advertising. It was a necessary thing, but it may have been inconvenient or annoying. I mean, that's always been the case. It's going out of the way of the program that you're listening to or watching to tell you about something. But sometimes that something would actually be interesting and useful. I mean, I remember when I was a kid and I hadn't been told to hate everything, which is usually how childhood goes, hopefully, that commercials would come on and it would sometimes be fun because you'd learn about this super soaker or lawn darts to take your eye out or whatever it is, would be the best commercial ever and be like, Mom, go buy this now, please. and we would celebrate it. And then we get older and get cynical and hate everything. Here's the thing. Google and Amazon and Meta ruined advertising. They made it disgusting, gross, and icky. And
okay,
invasive.
Hang on a second.
And
broadcast
so
television in the States got up to 6 ad breaks in an hour. So I think somebody helped there. But yeah.
No. So yes, the industry and capitalism as a whole did not help with this. I'm not defending that. So certainly there was problems before the internet, and we would have to have 30-minute blocks where they would tell them 22 to 24 minutes is plenty, and even then they would still cut out portions of the show to fit more ad breaks in. Yes, that all got very gross at the end of the cable bubble, but like anytime there's money, things are going to get gross. And I'm just saying Meta and everyone made this so much, like they took it and multiplied it by 1 million immediately in such a rapid way that we just weren't even prepared for it. It was almost overnight that the internet became this. I still remember seeing the flashing red banners covering various web pages in the early 2000s. Just and then how that's evolved into this serious tracking issue that we have today. Apple, on the other hand, doesn't need the money. They really don't. It's nice to put on the bottom line and tell investors, look, we're making ad revenue. It's diversifying our portfolio. But overall, Apple does not need at all any of this income, and that actually is a benefit. It kind of makes Apple News terrible because they have no motivation to change anything about Apple News' ads, and that will always be the sticking point in these discussions. Apple News ads are awful. But I look at how they advertise in the App Store, and there is some disconnect from reality where you can target a competitor's name, and that's annoying. But I was going through them the other day, and there was this recommendation list probably helped with certain paid positioning. And I found something I never would have found otherwise. It was this interesting, like, digital calendar thing you can put in your office. And I was like, oh, that's neat. Like, again, like, there's ways these things can work. So, long story short, bringing it back to this, I think Apple has the ability to do ads right and make us rethink how this industry works. Because people see ads and they think privacy invasion. They think gross tracking. And Apple is not doing that. Even with their own ads that exist today, they are not doing that. They're maintaining user privacy in an interesting way. And here's my pitch for Apple Maps benefiting from ads. And I know this is a controversial take because I'm not an ads person. I was always the person who said, I will pay more to never see an ad on television. And I still have that stance as far as media goes. But Google Maps has this highly competitive atmosphere, maybe to the point of it being broken, but star ratings and advertisements in Google Maps make businesses care about Google Maps. And they don't care about Apple Maps. There are so many businesses that I see in our local area that just don't even recognize Apple Maps as an entity. They might have a phone number on the Apple Maps search result, but they don't have photos or a menu or anything. Because the owner of that business never even bothered to go to the Apple Maps area and claim it, which is what you have to do as a business, and then add your own information. But by making it a potential competitive atmosphere for businesses, it might actually make Apple Maps important for businesses to consider when having an online presence. And I think that is smart if you do it right. We don't even know what these ads look like. We don't know if they're search ads. We don't know if, like, what this looks like. But I think Apple can do this as a way to help revitalize and make relevant its apps app, which is excellent. I love Apple Maps. It's what I default to. But I don't know what else they can do to convince businesses to use it. It's an excellent competitor to Google Maps in almost every way. But yet businesses are still mostly ignoring it. And I think ads are the way to get attention, as much as that might be annoying to consumers. But for businesses, it makes it relevant.
Okay,
and I think
this
that's
puts the thing
important.
around it. I realise we are different in our use of maps. When I want to find a restaurant, a supermarket, I actually don't search Apple Maps or Google Maps. I have an app called Where To, and I use that. And then I find a place, and then I bounce the directions through to Apple Maps. So I am... Well, I suppose recently I was in Paris. I was doing a guide to myself of where I wanted, and I found it actually quite frustrating that a lot of French restaurants, their website was a page on Facebook that didn't include the menu and all sorts of things. So I looked then, but generally speaking, Apple Maps is for the routing, not the finding for me. And I'm wondering if I'm just a freak.
Well, so this is why I wanted a longer discussion here, and we're at the end of the show, so we can't dwell on it too long. Apple Maps, I have been increasingly used as a discovery platform. So on my honeymoon, actually, anytime we were anywhere, my first go-to place would be Apple Maps, and I would search the guides and see what popped up. And funny enough, Gatlinburg and Charleston, both places we went on our honeymoon, had things that popped up in Apple Maps. You could easily, all you have to do is search the name of the town, and the thing that pops up at the top is guides, and then you'll see these where like different journals have put in guides to different locations. It helped us discover this really excellent barbecue restaurant in Charleston that some of the locals knew about and some didn't, and that's kind of what made it special, is we had to go out of our way to find this thing, but it was in Apple Maps. We wouldn't have known about it otherwise. And like, it's a very early, very nascent discovery platform, but it works. I found the angel tree, I lived in Goose Creek, South Carolina by Charleston forever. I didn't know this thing existed. This tree is 400 years old. Okay. It's gigantic. You could live inside of it, right? Like, it is this giant, beautiful, magnificent tree. I discovered it because I looked in Apple Maps at sightseeing locations in Charleston. So I understand that Google has the quote-unquote data, and I just refuse to use Google on principle because of their business practices. But like, Apple Maps does have the ability, and I know that I'm talking about from a United States perspective. I'm sure the UK has this lesser so. I know that there are London and similar guides, but something that I've noticed about Apple Maps that I really enjoy is I like putting together my own guides. The new locations feature and recently visited feature is very helpful. Leaving reviews and taking my own photos. I'm trying to populate and use Apple Maps more. And again, I just think people default to the thing they're used to. And how do you get something to break out, especially when there's something as big and powerful as Google Maps? You have to put a little bit of money behind it. And that might be inconvenient or annoying in some respects, but it will allow that business to actually grow and become meaningful. And maybe if Apple puts some real incentive behind Apple Maps, it can actually become a bit more of a competitive scene for businesses and force them to acknowledge that it is a thing that they have to actually participate in. And that excites me. Ads do not excite me, but what they bring us is exciting.
Okay.
And
that's persuasive.
I mean, the world.
Okay. I have something to tell you, and I don't know how to do it without sounding rude, so I'm just going to do it. A minute ago, as we record this, Affinity sent out an early notice, only about 10 minutes early, to people who are on the mailing list, giving them the link to the new app. So while you were talking, I hit the link, I've downloaded it, and obviously I haven't done any work in it, I'm not that rude, but I've opened up the magazine I'm currently editing for a charity, and this is the all three Affinity apps together in one. The only thing to note is that once you've opened up the document in the new one, you can't go back. So that's a slight worry. I should have waited and paid more attention. But right now, I feel like we're gaining, we're not losing anything through Affinity. So that's good, isn't it?
No. This looks like it'll be a good update as far as maintaining basic functionality and keeping the people who use it using it. Again, I just wonder what the trajectory is. I wonder what the business model is, but I'm sure we'll find out later. So wrapping up here, Apple joins the advisory board for the Game Awards. I found this kind of funny because every year since Apple Arcade came out, I have actually been paying attention to the Game Awards mobile section, wondering, is Apple going to sneak in there? And I think they actually did get a mention one year with Fantasian, which is a very excellent RPG that's available in Apple Arcade. And now here they are. They're on the board, which doesn't really mean anything on the surface. The board is what helps select winners of this. But Game Awards is also, I think, fully fan vote driven, right? See, this always confuses me. I'm fairly certain Game Awards is fan driven.
I'm sorry, I've never even heard of it before, so I can't help you there. Sorry. There are times when you get really fed up with me and my total lack of knowledge of games, and I can only apologise. It's not deliberate.
Well, so the Game Awards has been around for several years now. It was kind of started as this thing to try and recognize the gaming industry the same way television and movies are. Jeff Keighley is the guy who started this in 2014, right? So they've actually been doing this for a while, but it's really started taking off for the last few years, especially since the pandemic. Like, I know I've been watching since their inauguration, and like it's always been fine, but they never really found their footing. Speeches went on too long, but the gaming industry acknowledged it in a way that was very interesting. Like, and it has grown into a serious thing. But it is a fan choice award. So here on their website, the board is not involved in the selection of the award nominees or winners, and learns of the results of voting at the same time as the general public. The advisory board includes Apple and Epic Games, Phil Spencer, Doug Bowser. Like, these are names you might know. Even Valve is on here. So that's cool that they have this advisory board. Rockstar is on here. I'm guessing that all they're there for, I guess, is to ensure that the voting platforms have the games that they should have, I suppose. Or maybe they're there to help manage the event itself, because the Game Awards is this big hours-long thing that they just play trailers and they announce the awards, and all of the famous people from video games come and join it. And maybe Apple being a part of the advisory board, maybe Tim Cook will walk out on stage and do something silly. But even more reason for us to watch it this year, even though I know you won't. But
I'll look forward to hearing about it from you. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes. I think that wraps up our show for this week. Thanks for listening, guys. There's a couple other stories here we didn't get to. Apple hit $4 trillion in market value. Nvidia hit $5 trillion. My only comment there is that bubble's going to pop any day, and it's not going to be pretty. There was some story about family sharing that I wanted to cover, but it's kind of bleak. At the end of the day, I think I just wanted to point out, and we'll leave this story in the show notes. Good things can become bad with bad people, and Apple can't cover every usage scenario, and hopefully situations like this do alert them to these kinds of things. We got stolen device protection because bad actors abused passcodes. Yeah. So I think that we could see family sharing evolve, and I'm aware family sharing is not a perfect solution, but I would encourage people not to be perturbed by stories like this, and utilize the technology that you have to its fullest extent. Bad actors come along all the time, and if you find yourself in a abusive family situation, there are ways out. I think this was handled poorly, sadly. Basically, the long story short is a woman left her husband, and the ex had control of the family sharing and was able to like punitively control the children's screen time to mess with the wife. And that's not great. And the court couldn't do anything. Apple couldn't do anything. If I was the court and knew what I was doing, because the court clearly did not, I would have subpoenaed the man to force him to stop this under penalty of, there's a word for this in law, undue, it's not stress isn't the word, but there's a word for it. Anyway, he placed undue something, I don't know why I can't say it, onto the family, and he could have been fined for it or even jailed for it. So they could have gone after him, but instead they went after Apple, and Apple's like, we don't have access to this. It's not our phone. We can't do anything. And that was very frustrating, I'm sure, for the family. And nobody wants to hear, well, you should have done this in that kind of situation. But for future reference, there are paths. It's just the legal system is never prepared to deal with this stuff. And hopefully Apple gives us some solutions in the future.
It has been 9 years, hasn't it, though? So they're not rushing to do it.
But, I mean, how many stories have we heard? I'm sure that there are more than this one. This one just bubbled to the surface. But how many of the millions and millions and millions of iPhone users, how many stories like this have actually happened? I'm sure it's in the tens, maybe even hundreds.
Yes.
But it's tiny. And I mean, they need to bubble to the surface for them to be discussed. Hopefully someone at Apple hears this. If they maybe didn't read the article, I don't know, but like a solution needs to be had. Obviously children need to be able to be passed around different family sharing groups, stuff like that. But anyway, we have one review this week from Apple Podcasts. I wanted to, it's not from this week, it's from a couple weeks ago, but don't worry, we didn't lose it. I just happened to not be here. Our young listener, Crosby SW.
Hello again. Yes. Yeah.
Yes. Asking about upgrading iPhones. You've probably already made a purchase, but you said you had the iPhone 14 Pro and you were trying to wonder if you're going to upgrade to iPhone 17. You were wondering between the base model or maybe hold off. Should you get the iPhone Pro? Okay, so should you get the base model or iPhone Pro? My answer here is honestly, if you're listening to this show, you probably want the Pro, if only because the camera's nice. You're going to probably use that cooling feature. I'm sure you're probably playing some kind of game on your phone. If you got the money, go for the Pro. It is the better solution, but you're not getting a bad phone out of the base model at all. So I know that's not really much of an answer, but you're not going to go wrong either way. But if you have the money for it, get that Pro model. I don't know what you've done. Obviously, it's probably been 2 weeks now. You probably already made a purchase, but hopefully you enjoy what you got.
And as we said before, this year, I think more than ever, the base model is, it's not just a cut down one. It does seem to be particularly good for these things, isn't it? So,
it's a really good model this year. Yeah. All right, so wrapping up, you can always reach out. If you leave a review on Apple Podcasts, you will hear it here on the show. We will read it live. If it's good or bad, we will read your review regardless, because we like the critiques. We like the information and the feedback. It helps us make a better show for our listeners. You can always reach me on Blue Sky, and I'm pretty active there. Now that I'm back from my honeymoon, I will actually be active again. I'm going to continue my blog. Don't worry, that hasn't ended. It just went on a little break. And Halloween, I'm excited to write a little bit on Halloween, even though it is a holiday. I'm not going trick-or-treating. I might go to a bar crawl, though. That'll be interesting.
Okay.
That's always fun. William, when was your last pub crawl?
A very, very long time ago, I organised 2 simultaneous pub crawls, we call them, to do with it online. It was long, long ago, but it was a group of us in the Midlands, where I am, and a group in London, and we were both going to go to local pubs and have a kind of online phone chat in between them. And I'm the only one who turned up to the Birmingham one, and a colleague was the only one who turned up to the London one. So we spent the whole time on the phone together getting, well, I was on Pepsi Max at the time, but he was getting progressively more smashed on our behalf. Yeah.
Sure. Well, anyway, you guys can always reach out to me on Blue Sky. Mastodon is also an option, Hilly Tech, either way. You can reach me at wes@appleinsider.com over email. And William,
usually I think I'd just still say the best thing is william@appleinsider.com email, but I am a lot on YouTube on 58 Keys, my channel there. I'm trying to get back into Blue Sky, and I like it, every conversation I get into, but still I seem to get so many bots even on there, and I thought that's what you weren't supposed to get on Blue Sky, but I'll push through.
Well, no, I mean, no social media is immune from it. We've had a big influx of new users recently due to another snafu over on the other platforms. So, new influx usually means new bots as well. It ebbs and flows, but I find it to be a pretty good platform.
Well, maybe I'll just go in and talk to you. Okay. Right.
There you go. But yes, Thanks again for listening, everyone. If you want an ad-free experience, you can get Apple Insider Plus. We're going to be discussing more broadly tech at events, but we are going to discuss a little bit of my wedding as well. And I would like to thank our sponsors, Masterclass and Nordstellar. And we will talk to you guys next week.